when I was going to the gym, a lot of people were talking about having difficulty getting to the gym. Hello. Kind of a discussion about establishing, self-discipline and such, which I think is a big struggle for a lot of people. The idea of consistency, which is actually how gyms make money, most commercial gyms. The best example I can think of is Planet Fitness, where they actually take advantage of this cycle that people get into, which is the cycle of motivation and then ending of motivation and a lack of self-discipline. So what happens at most gyms is people get motivated, a lot of them, at the beginning of the year when they're doing the resolutions. And they walk in and the gym generally sells you a package that is a month free if you pay for 3 months, or if you go on auto pay, that kind of thing. If you go on auto pay and you sign up, and because they understand the pattern, motivation lasts for somewhere like 5 to 11 days, about that. That's how long motivation lasts without a feedback mechanism of some kind. The problem is you're not going to get in shape. You're not going to see a palpable, visible, empirical change in that period of time. And they know that. Good gyms, a lot of them will give you, an appointment with a personal trainer for a day. And that person's job is to set you up with a 3-day-a-week workout. Because if you go to a commercial gym for 4 days a week, you'll actually end up costing them money. But nobody's going to change their physique working out 3 days a week. So the whole thing is planned. Basically, it's planned non-operation. They understand that what's going to happen is you'll wait to see the trainer. So you're already fucking yourself over. You'll come in, you'll sign up, you'll go kind of do a sloppy workout. You'll see a trainer in 4 days. You'll talk to them. You'll say everything except what you really want to say, which is, I want to look better naked. And they'll set you up with a really generic 3-day-a-week workout. You'll come in probably the first 3 days, you might actually make it. Usually what it's set up is a Monday, Wednesday, Friday workout, because they know that following Monday, most people aren't going to go. They'll shit on themselves. They'll come back for Wednesday's workout and they'll try to make it up. They might come Friday. Now you've exited the period of motivation. You haven't seen any progress. You might get motivated over the weekend. You'll come back Monday, maybe Friday. By then, you're already declining. And what will happen is that first month will go by without having to pay for it. And then the bill comes for the second month. And what they're depending on is your guilt trip. You're shitting on yourself. Because the bill will come at the end of the second month, right? Or maybe the beginning of the second month sometime. But it's going to come and you're going to shit on yourself because by then you haven't gone several times. So you'll go back 1 or 2 days because you feel guilty, not because you actually want to do the improvement anymore. But guilt isn't a very good motivator either. And you'll just kill yourself, and then you'll end up paying for 4 months, and then you'll start shitting on yourself that you mean to go back, so you'll pay for the next few months and so forth, and it just keep going on the cycle. And that's how people end up with a gym membership that they've had for 10 years, and they go like 11 times a year. What you have to do is first be very, very clear about what your goals are. Are you the guy who made the video about why women can find random objects in cabinets? No, I'm not the guy. I did not know there was that video. That's funny, though. How do you make your shrimp tacos? Boy, that was a change of subject. Okay, so I guess nobody was interested in the, is that couch a wrap, like a wraparound couch? This couch is custom made. I designed this couch. This couch has, so it's a day bed right there because I always fall asleep on the couch. This section behind me is 6 feet, and it's designed so when I pull up these cushions, it's exactly 2 inches past both sides of my shoulders, so I can lay flat on that section. And then this piece is a cuddling piece. It's designed specifically to sit at that weird angle so that you can wrap somebody up. But I designed this couch, and I had it made by a company called Zelgati that's in Texas. Okay, so shrimp tacos. That was funny. Shrimp are easy to make, but you got to have just a little bit. You got to pay attention. The way I make them is I marinate them first, and it's a really quick, easy marinade. Oh, is this a crunch wrap? No, this is just a quesadilla I made. That's funny. No, it's just a couple quesadillas. That's all. So shrimp are basically a lot like chicken. So you season them with whatever you feel like. Mine's turmeric, cumin, cayenne, chipotle, basil, a little bit of bay leaves. But it's basically a generic. If you looked up taco seasoning, it's basically that. It's not hard. It's like homemade taco seasoning with a touch of vinegar and oil, and you just toss them in that. And you let them marinate for, I don't know, about an hour maybe. I find that's about enough. And then you heat up your oil on your frying pan. It's got to be pretty hot, not as hot as like when you're frying chicken and you have like the popping, but pretty hot. You put your shrimp in. Now, if you want to bread them, that's a different thing. I like crunchy shrimp. I marinate the shrimp, and then I take the shrimp out of the marinade. I lightly dust them with flour. I dip them in egg. I roll them in breadcrumbs, and then I put each one in the oil with about a half inch of clearance all the way around it so they can get to it. Takes maybe 4 minutes on one side, maybe 3 minutes on the other. You're set. I make them with a Southwest slaw, which is you just take cabbage and ribbon cut it, or you can buy the pre-cut stuff. That's not hard. And I put that with a touch of oil, sour cream, and again, red pepper and chipotle to give it that kick, and mix it up. For the slaw, I generally like mine with I make mine with sweet corn. I put you put butter in the bottom of a pan. You melt it. Remember, people often burn butter, so don't burn the butter. You put the butter in, you let it melt until it's pretty warm but not burnt. Put the corn in on a very flat layer and let it stay there. That takes 6 or 7 minutes to get those little brown spots in the corn. Cut it, and then you roll it once for about a minute. I sprinkled that right on top of the shrimp, and then the slaw. And then I used to use ranchero cheese, which is that white Mexican cheese that you kind of crumble, and it gets little crumbles in there. And that's how I make my shrimp tacos. Do I regret not having a son? I wish that I had been able to have kids. I think I wish that I'd had kids. It didn't work out. It's unfortunate. If I find the right woman, which I'm kind of dubious about at this point, but if I found the right woman, I think I would like to adopt, because I think there's a lot of kids out there who are alone. And I think I'd like to, find one of those kids in that sweet spot that's really hard to, the 9, 10, 11, whatever. And, tell them you weren't a mistake. You just showed up at the wrong address and you're home now. I know I can have kids. You can have kids anytime. You could be an 80-year-old and, blow a load in a 10-year-old, but 20-year-old. Sorry, that sounded weird. You can have kids all the fucking time. I think I'm too old. I don't know. I guess I'm not too old. I just feel like if I want to have my own kids, I want to be with the right woman. And go to a park. Don't be creepy. I know I just said something really creepy that's totally just a slip of the tongue. The right woman See, that's the problem. The problem is that I find that women's emotions are capricious and unreliable. A woman will, with full faith and absolute integrity and true belief in her own feelings, tell you that she's completely in love with you, and she will mean it. She will believe it. And then years later, she'll just stop because they do not believe and they do not understand that our emotions are created inside our head and are the product of our focus and our thoughts. And I will not be at the mercy of what we call a woman's love anymore because it has about as much substance as a stream of piss in the wind. And that's not to say that not to fall in love. It's not to say that there aren't wonderful women to fall in love with. I just think of it as a very temporary thing, or temporary could be meaning years, but I just assume always that a woman will leave, that she is incapable of the durability necessary for a real relationship. So the right woman would convince me otherwise. Adoption is a great option. Yeah. I think it would be, I think it would be great. Yeah. The problem with finding men like that is 80% of divorces are filed by women. So even if you find that men are like that, the numbers say otherwise. Can't you believe that Jeff Bezos' ex-wife got half his money? Women are useless and take our stuff. She didn't get half his money. He had 150 billion and he gave her 30. He gave her that because he cheated on her. And he said that she was instrumental in the creation of Amazon and that she deserved that. That wasn't actually contested. The cabinet night, men seeing motion and women being gatherers. I'm really not the cabinet guy. I'm kind of curious about this video now, though. I'd say she earned that money. Yeah. I'm good, Blake. How are you? There is a failing of men I will bring up that if you look into the numbers, one of the really dismal numbers about men is that men are much more likely to leave if a woman gets deathly sick. So if a woman is going through cancer, men are 3 times more likely to leave, which I think is a really, really shitty number. And it says a lot about men. I feel like I'm in a fever dream, but you seem to have some great takes. Thank you. Appreciate that. I was hoping you'd match the energy. Sorry, Blake. Actually, Blake, I was feeling miserably sick this weekend. I think I got some kind of bacterial food poisoning because it was all in my guts and I had a really high fever and I'm still kind of tired. I took a bunch of pre-workout to go work out this afternoon just to get to the gym, but it has worn off and I just feel weak. Anyway, I think it would be great to. Well, yeah, I think that's a really despicable number, and I think it says a lot about a lot of men. I can't imagine doing that to someone. I can't imagine even if they fell ill when I didn't feel like I was romantically connected to them. I can't imagine abandoning someone like that. That to me feels like abandoning someone on the field of battle. I cannot conceive of such a thing, but. Like I said, we got to go with the numbers, right? So I think we have to jump around and yell as loud as you can. I don't know if it has. Does leaving a cancerous partner doesn't have something to do with emotions versus survival? No, because a survival instinct is exclusively to the individual. You don't have a survival instinct that dictates leaving someone else. Why am I eating quesadillas? Why not DoorDash? Because all told, this is like 75 cents and DoorDash is like $50. And there's not a lot that's close by that I like. I was actually going to cook tonight, but I just wasn't that hungry. I'm going to cook tomorrow. I can't abandon. Yeah, I can't. Have I been to Area 51? No. I can tell you where Area 51 is called Area 51. There's no so there's a kind of a fallacy there. There's more of an instinct to have sex than there is one to reproduce. And that sounds contradictory, but if you create a creature that has a drive to have a lot of sex, it will reproduce by accident, and it's a better instinct overall for reproduction. Quesadillas, yeah. Thank you for your energy. Yeah, I don't. That's the thing is, I often sound very cynical about women, but the problem is that there's just as much that men need to work on. It's just that I feel like men are kind of overrepresented in the you need to work on shit realm. But it doesn't mean that women don't have a lot of fantastic things about them. About Americans could lose to China if a military lost. Well, if the military lost, obviously we could lose, but I don't believe we're anywhere close to needing to lose to China. While China certainly has a certain numerical advantage, their technology is pretty far behind. Even if you look at Russia, which is substantially more technologically advanced than China is right now, they're looking at 1990, early 90s level technology. They just produced their generation 1 electrically scanned radar. We're on generation 6. Their stealth systems are nowhere near where ours are. China just launched its first aircraft carrier ever. We've been engaged in carrier tactics since World War II. I don't think we're looking at a losing battle there, but it is a peer adversary, so it would be a hard war. How was back day? It was actually pretty good. It was rough because I still feel kind of sick and tired, but we got through it. Tacos tomorrow, Taco Tuesday. I was actually going to make a Chinese beef and pepper dish, but maybe I'll make tacos. What were you like when you were younger, say in your 20s? Well, I had been in the Marines for most of it. I had a very abrupt change from the Marine Corps to college, which was very early after 9/11. And it was kind of shocking. I'd also just gotten divorced, which hindered my kind of college ability for a little while. When I started playing rugby, I don't know how to say this, but pussy fell from the heavens. Because I was an ex-Marine and I was older than most of the guys, so I had a little game. And it was right at that time when everybody was kind of celebrating the military. And when I was 27, when I was just about to graduate college, that's when I met my now ex-wife, and I fell madly in love with her. But then I graduated. I had my skull broken, so I couldn't go back into the military. So I graduated directly into the recession. So that made life financially difficult for a time. I was very aggressive, easy to anger, easy to get into a fight. And I took a lot of pride in that. I was going through a lot of learning how to be a better person. One of my very close friends, I got a big fight, an argument with another friend, and one of my dear friends, who's basically my sister, came to me and said, "You are really scary when you're angry. Like, you terrify me." And at first I took kind of a perverse pride in that. But after a while, it kind of sank in that these were the people I cared about and they shouldn't be scared of me. So I started trying to work on that. I know I eat quesadillas a lot because of reward pathway. What's your favorite kind of pizza? Pepperoni, double Italian sausage, red onions, and chives put on after it's cooked. Can you tell me about favorite philosophy of Ringham's theory of forms from Plato, or was it process? A favorite philosophy? Actually, I would say Kant, which represents the ideas of God, it's been a long time since I talked about really philosophy. The idea of self as a creation of inner self, that our reality is, at least in part, fundamentally created by ourselves. The U.S., we also have the EK baby on many other web. Yeah. I've not been to Wyoming for any length of time. I've passed through Wyoming. It was beautiful. What did you do in the Marines? I was a rifleman and then a scout sniper and a combat hunter. Good evening, sir. Try and go back to college. If it is one of your life goals to get a degree, then it is worth it to go back to college. I mean, the value, when you say, is it worth it? My immediate question to you is, what is the value that you're putting on it? If the value you're putting on it is to increase your wealth, then no. If the value you're putting on it is to increase your overall education, then I say yes, with the caveat that it will give you as much education as you put into effort of gaining an education. If it's to get some kind of mid-level management position, then again, I would say no and focus on professional certifications. If it is for a life place where you wanted a degree as some valuation of self, then I say yes. So I've got 2 no's and 2 yeses. I would have to ask you, when you say worth it, what is the value that you're putting on it? Do I have a long-term life goal? I have several. One of them is to build an awesome model railroad. One of them is to feel like I've made a real difference in several lives. Sometimes I think I've succeeded in that one, and sometimes I don't. One of them is to have a legacy of some kind. With the idea that somebody will remember that I was here. I don't think anybody will. Things like that. What are you looking to go to? Yeah. No one does what? Doug, you said no one does that. No one does what? You think cops will obey the Constitution? Like in the future? Do they not now? I think they will obey the Constitution as much as they ever have. Made a difference in my life. Thank you, Blake. That's kind of you to say. I just want to be able to support a family at some point and not have to work 412s in a factory. Then I would focus on wealth creation and wealth management skills. I would, in that case, I would learn about investment, specifically real estate investment, and in a lesser way, stock market investment. I would learn about wealth management, understanding the difference between things like liabilities and assets, how to make, how to understand, like a house is a liability, even though most people think of it as an investment. I think it's a wealth generation and wealth management is much more fundamental to that particular goal than colleges. Do I think cops will take guns away? I think some cops would and some cops would not. It depends on where you are and what kind of police are in charge. Even here in California, like the Placer County Sheriff has actively said he would never do such a thing, whereas the Sacramento actively tries to. So it depends. Was there any career that interests you? I can tell from experience. There's several careers that interest me. My own career right now interests me. I'm very interested. Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking to someone else. I'm confused. What are we talking about the aviation from? Oh, the aviation, yeah. I'm not sure that I trust finance as a college education. I would look more into economics rather than finance. Finance tends to teach the very conservative status quo rather than teaching real and genuine wealth generation. But you can find mentors that are wealthy that can help with that. Thank you, Blake. I appreciate that. Have I jumped out of a plane before? No, I have jumped out of a helicopter on a fast rope, but I've never used a parachute, if that's what you're asking. Simmer, simmer, simmer down, simmer down, simmer. Good boy. Any opinions on Super Straight? I think it's a hilarious trolling of a stupid argument. There has been a stupid argument about if some fucking 23-year-old blue-haired retard that wants to call herself pansexual comes up to me and tries to tell me that I'm transphobic because I don't want to date a transsexual. I don't care. I don't have to make up a new sexuality to not give a fuck about her dumbass little opinion. I think it's engaging in an argument that nobody needs to have. That's all. I think the more attention you give to stupid arguments, the more energy they generate. I wish we could have more than 150 characters per message. Yeah. I saw what you were saying, Sinful Pain, maybe. Do you know anywhere to start with real estate knowledge? I have been getting into stocks, though. Well, yeah, there's literally books on how to invest in real estate for dummies. And it is just a good place to start. You need to understand terms and such. Talk about the pup, about Zeus the attack dog. Yeah, you can tell he's a monster. Attack a cheeseburger. For example, this was a thing I didn't even know was a thing. That has the flavor of pre-workout in it. I think I just got a trace of pre-workout. We're gonna make that go away real quick. I don't want to be up all fucking night. Get me some water. A lady lives down the street from me, and I don't know if this exists outside of California, but this is an idea that I had no idea existed until I was talking to her at a dinner party, and she told me about how she, lived. And what she does is she buys single-family homes, and then she carefully goes around and finds people that are on state-level disability. She then vets them out herself, and then she rents a room in this single-family home to them. So these are people that are, say, schizophrenic or depressed or something, but they are on some kind of state-level mental disability. They're not violent, they're not aggressive, they're just kind of useless, and they can't do anything, and they live on disability. And she rents them an overpriced room, basically, and she'll move 12 people into a single-family home, and then the state pays her directly. They are not paying their rent. The state is paying her to house them. So she's never dealing with, rent problems where their rent doesn't come in on time or having to evict somebody because she's paid by the state. And so if she has 12 people in a house, she's making $12,000 a month in rent of that house. Well, the up and down on it is the mortgage is, somewhere around, say, $1,500. The upkeep is somewhere around $500. So of that 12,000, she's making $10,000 in revenue a month. I didn't even know that was a fucking thing until she talked about it. I was like, holy shit. Have you ever been shot? I have not. Hi! Are you talking about Patrick? No, I'm not. I was talking about somebody that was actually smart and financially successful. That's my favorite cousin. I care about random dog more than ever. Well, this is actually the owner of the dog is now on the thread. This is my cousin's dog. You can see that he's an attack dog. Let's see. What has war taught you that civilian life wouldn't understand? the war taught you anything. I think being in the service on any level teaches you substantial things that civilians wouldn't understand. But I think it teaches you much more about what is real and what is not, and what is artificial and what is not, and about the truth about human nature. Why do you think humans do so little to prevent history from repeating itself? Because people have a tendency to view the present as absolute, meaning they don't really understand the flow of historical events and how they interacted and interceded and became the present, because it's complex and it's interwoven with all kind. Like, you look at history now and you're learning from a bunch of professors that are a bunch of fucking libertards that emphasize different things. Section 8 housing is like that. Yeah. So when people learn about, is nobody on YouTube? That's funny. I've been on YouTube and nobody's on it. I should probably just turn it off, but I don't know. I got 26 fucking videos banned today. So, what was I babbling about? Oh, history. So yes, buddy, I see. Oh, hold on. We have to throw the thing. So people's have a hard time learning history, and all of history that they learn is often nuanced by the people they are learning it from, by the perspectives those people take. So they learn history with a particular perspective, and then somebody else comes along and gives them a different perspective, and it alters their entire perception of history, and it makes a lot of people disconnect from wanting to learn history. If you were in the service for a non-first class country, how would it be different? You're 5 minutes slow. Oh, well, we did a lot of like training with like much less sophisticated militaries. And I got to tell you, when you're in a service like the Marines, you join it thinking you're going to be super spiffy, all this stuff, and after a year or two, you start to feel like I'm really not as elite as I thought I was going to be. You know, like I thought somehow I would, I don't know, have a Death Star mounted in my forehead or something. And then you interact with the military like Singapore, who has ungodly amounts of wealth. Singapore has actually more of their individual troops have more technology than ours do. Or at least than the Marines do. The Army tends to have a lot of technology. But like every Singapore guy had a combination NVG that was a thermal imager and a light intensifier. We just started getting those in the US like 10 years ago. They all had like little personal computer things. Their F-15s had, you know, slightly more advanced electronics and such. Anyway, they seemed more advanced. But as soon as you started working with them, the individual soldier was not nearly as good as we were on an individual level. They were not as tough. Their basic military skill set was much, much lower. And then when you interact with the troops that you think of as being super elite, like the SEALs, you suddenly realize they're not nearly as far ahead of you as you thought they were. And then when you start getting into schools that you thought of as very, very elite, they're like half as hard, well, 2/3 of as hard as you thought they were. Right? Like you're, oh my God, this school is going to be so hard. This is the hardest school ever. You know, it has a 15% pass rate and people fail out of it all the time. And it's really, really hard. And you have to run into it. You got to do your run up and they have an in-doc and you do all that. And here's your medical test and you have to pass an SRB and all this other shit. And then you get there Now, this is also a reflection of how much preparation an individual unit does for the people going to each school. But you get there and you're like, okay, it's hard. It's not like, I don't know, a 20-year-old Thai girl gently stroking you off, but it's not like fucking impossible. It's just a hard thing. It's a lot of running and swimming and shooting at things, and you're not going to get much sleep, and you're going to be tired and sore. But okay, like when you go on a 5-mile run with a fucking rubber boat on your head, which apparently is like the super hard thing. And there's people that quit. They stop, and you're like, but why? It hurts, but we got a couple miles to go, and then we're going to be on to the next thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing, and then you're just done one day. Maybe it's a focus on the present rather than thinking about the pain to come. But yeah, anyway, and you go through all this, and then you meet up with these other militaries. We worked with the Australian SAS. Now, the SAS, there's some big badasses and shit, right up until you're working with them, and they're pretty much the same as you. And that's the country's super elite. And you're like, okay, but we do this stuff. And then you realize that genuine professionals are not doing anything really special. They're just applying the fundamentals very well. They're just taking the fundamentals. And there was a phrase that I heard that made much more sense to me, and that's that amateurs practice until they get it right. Professionals practice until they cannot get it wrong. And that's what stuck with me about these ideas of who is super elite. The super elite guys are just practicing until they almost physically cannot get it wrong. They practice through the point of being tired until they're in pain from doing it, and then a little bit past that until they go numb again. And then you do that again. And then you do that until it's so far past you can't, someone attacks the left, you just turn and start killing them. You're not thinking about it. There's no thought. But more than that, because you don't have to think about that, and because you're so practiced in things like your response to a close ambush, like you did it and you did it and you did it and you did it, and then when it actually happened, it was almost mundane, right? Like you got a shot of adrenaline and you're a little freaked out, you kind of tunneled up, but you already knew that was going to happen. And you just get busy doing the work you already know you're supposed to do. So you contact left, and we're going through this, and Blake punch out left, and whatever, and fucking Sinful Pain base of fire, and he's like, yeah, I got it, and he starts laying down, and one of the guys is dragging the other guy up because he got hit, and you're Blake that we just said, he's already punching out to the left so he can go around to get a flank. And, somebody shouts out, I'm out, changing mags. And everybody suddenly kind of drops and slows down. And it allows you to open up your brain to engage tactically and proficiently. So you were in an ambush and you turned left and you started to assault through, and they started running away and they're pulling back really fast. And you're like, okay, let's go chase these motherfuckers down and kill them all. And you're running, and then you think about it like, wait a minute. These guys are running away a little bit too fast. And they're going into a canyon. This wasn't an ambush. This was a teaser. This wasn't the ambush. This was the teaser into the ambush that's over there. We're about to get annihilated. We're going to stop here, form a base of fire, get in contact with my guy that pushed out left and tell him to go further. And now we're going to, you know what I mean? Like, because you practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced, you're able to function on a higher tactical level. Yeah, muscle memory is exactly, I mean, that's what everybody calls it. Yeah, it was the bait for the real ambush. So you thought it was the ambush right here. They got you to engage and start chasing them. You know, something like that. You had drill leaders telling you to practice any after-service similar methods. Doug, I'm not sure I understand that question. Like, are you asking if I act like a drill instructor when I'm at work? And the thing is that, so that same focus on doing something until you can't get it wrong then carries over. So like when I formed my hazmat team, I made them miserable because I would set up these, you know, complicated pipe manifolds. They were just manifolds. I mean, there's, you know, piping things. I built a fucking a shitty ass training trailer. I found a bunch of old equipment that had been thrown away in the laydown yard. It was all rusty and shitty and fucked up. And I mounted it on this gooseneck trailer with lots of piping in between it. And I would make my guys get in their level A fucking suits. And I would, you know, pump shit through it and spray fucking glow stick in their face and everything else and make them fix shit. And they didn't want to. And it was hot. It's the fucking July heat in California. It's 100,000 goddamn degrees. And nobody wants to do that. But when it came time then to get in the shit, they were good. I got to sit up, so I'm going to move this over somewhere else. Dropped it. All right, let's move this over here. Over here. My lifting partner. I could use a lifting partner. I'll tell you what. I don't have anybody. Nobody likes to go work out with me. I've been trying to get my little Japanese engineer that I work with to go